Hello, everyone, and welcome back to the Unfuck Yourself podcast. We are diving into something I'm very excited about today because this has been the bane of my existence since I have been like literally 5 years old. I've been so hyper aware of this. And that is self image about your physical body. So, we do a lot of internal self image work here, and that will continue to keep coming along. But we are going to talk about the external self image today, the physical body self image. Um, I kind of want to title this podcast episode. I always pick the title after, but I feel like the title is You're Hot But Don't See It. I feel like that's the title. Like the self-image blind spot. You're hot, but you don't see it. So what we're going to be doing is exploring the neuroscience behind why you can't see what is actually the truth of how you actually look and how hot you actually are and how beautiful you actually are and how to finally rewire that, reprogram that kind of thing. Again, this is the foundation of the foundation of the foundation of the foundation of doing this and of what you get inside the Glow Foundation and of what we do inside the Glow formula and at the retreats. But we need to have this understanding. And this is a understanding in a neuroscience way that I've never explained it before like this. So this is never explained this before. So you hear it first here. But even though I've never explained it this way before, this is still 0.0001% of the information there is to know on this. But we have to know this before we get to move forward and go to even higher, more elite levels of this. So the neuroscience of self-image physically, right? We're focused on the physical aspect today, not the internal, the physical. So your self-image is literally a neural pattern, okay? It's not just an idea. It's not just it's not fully even, yes, it's our own doing because we've had these thoughts for a while, but it's not even like you can help yourself of having these thoughts every day at this point. It's the way your brain is wired at this point. So it's a set of pathways in your brain that filters what you see in the mirror, okay? Again, there's a certain your eyes are going to start to perceive rays of light differently than what's actually going on in your physical body, kind of like we talked about. It wasn't the last episode, it was in our free workshop we talked about that. So again, it's not just an idea, it's a set of pathways in your brain, okay? And that filters what you see in the mirror. So if your internal narrative is kind of like, I'm average, like I'm okay looking, or I'm ugly, or I'm fat, or I'm too skinny, or whatever it is, even people who are telling you, oh my God, you're so beautiful, you're glowing, you're this, that, you're the other thing, that is not going to register in your brain, okay? Your brain will literally delete it or distort the information in order to stay congruent with your current story. Okay. So have you ever gotten a compliment or you compliment someone and they automatically like hate that you're complimenting them? Or like you feel so unbelievably uncomfortable getting complimented? It's because people can compliment you to the cows come home, but until you change your story, the compliment's not going to register and you might even think they have like bad intent. Like one time I complimented Justin and he literally goes, "What's your angle?" And I'm like, "I'm just complimenting you." So like you might think like people have an angle, or I remember what I would do is people would compliment me and I would automatically feel guilty that I wasn't complimenting them. So this self-image thing can work in two ways. It can work in like you could even feel bad for like feeling good in your body or looking a certain way and then you automatically want to go like compliment somebody else too, right? Or you feel super uncomfortable because you don't agree with what they're fucking saying and then so then you also want to compliment them because you're literally just deflecting the compliment right away. So even it like if you just feel like I'm average, I'm not that like magnetic, I'm not that hot, whatever it is, you're and someone's like, "Oh my God, you look so fucking hot." your brain will literally like delete or distort that information to stay congruent and in line with the story that you already have going on in your head. You will somehow make their compliment and get so delusional and then spin that compliment into your story. And it's either going to be like they have an angle or, oh, like they didn't see how I looked earlier, or it's because of this, right? Like how many times have you gotten a compliment and you're like, oh, it's because of my hair today, or oh, it's because of this. And you'll decide, you'll make some excuse and distort it as to why you got that compliment, essentially, is what happens. So today we're diving into one of the most subtle but life altering, like, it's really a distortion that people carry, and the women are targeted the most for this. Men have the physical self-image thing too, but you'll find more men's thing is internal self-image. Women also have internal self-image stuff also, but it's not really a gender thing, but you'll find that women are just more targeted in the physical self-image space. If you haven't noticed, we've been programmed that when men age, they get hotter, but when women age, they get uglier, right? Have you noticed that? Like older men are hot, older women, they're not, they're, useless now, or I'm making quotes if you can't see me, they're useless now or whatever it is. And women are really targeted in this space. So you are insanely hot, you're insanely magnetic, you're insanely radiant, you're insanely sexy. You just don't see it, and that's the fucking problem. Here's the thing is there's the law of all, okay? It's the universal law called the law of all, ALL, all. And what that means is we are everything all at once. We're everything. Everything, every attribute, we are all of it. Okay. So if someone is, we'll go really extreme here. If someone's like, oh my God, that person's a murderer. How are they killing people? I could never do that. No, you're a murderer too. You've probably killed bugs before. You've probably, if someone comes into your house with a gun, holding it up to your child or your loved ones, you would kill them first before they could kill you or your loved ones, right? You, has anyone ever told you before, oh my God, you're killing me, right? Like just because of, I don't know, the way you are, or whatever it is. And your parents are like, oh my God, you're killing me right now. Like all of those things that we all hold that attribute, right? So we are all everything all at one time. So it's not that you're not hot, that you're not magnetic, that you're not radiant, that you're not sexy, that you're not all of these things. It's that you are so distorted and delusional in your own mind that you are so far, far, far out of being able to even see that. Okay. Now, we have talked about in the most previous free workshop and in a prior podcast episode, and we really dive into this in all the glow foundations and formulas and things. But we have talked about how anytime we're having body dysmorphia isn't the actual problem, right? What body dysmorphia is feeling like our bodies aren't perfect, but that is usually a reflection of another area of life that we feel isn't perfect. So you've heard me talk about this. It's not what this podcast episode's on today. We'll dive into that concept. We already did, and I'll link that podcast episode in the show notes. So we dove into that concept because we have a whole episode on that. So go listen to that. And it basically, we dive into how if you're having body dysmorphia, just it like you just facing the body and trying to heal your perception of your body won't work, because it is a reflection of your feeling of lack of perfection in another area of life. If you feel like your career area of life isn't perfect and you're seeing it out of balance, you are going to start to see your body not perfect and out of balance. Okay. And again, we have a whole podcast episode on that. We'll link it in the show notes for you. But that aside, okay, yes, that happens. But what happens is if we feel so, I would say that's a prereq podcast episode to this. So if you haven't listened to that, like listen to that and then come back for this if you're listening to the recording of this. But even though that is like what's going on with body dysmorphia, what happens is we can feel so out of perfection in our own life for so long that now we just have all these neural pathways. We have all these belief systems that our body isn't hot or that our body isn't attractive or that we're not sexy enough because of whatever fucking reason X, Y, and Z. So, what we're diving into today in this episode is getting the neuroscience understanding of what's going on in our brains and how it's actually not us at this point. It's just a thing that's running in our brain that is making us feel this way and how to shift it. So, even though the root cause of body dysmorphia and how you're seeing your physical body is probably some other area of life where you fell out of perfection with your life, and now it's kind of like soaked in and absorbed into your physical self-image body area of life. If we have been on that train for so long of being out of perfection, well, now our neural pathways are also trained to see how our body is constantly out of perfection. And we're trained to not feel hot, not feel sexy, not feel XYZ unless we look a certain way. So we're going to start to break and understand what's going on in the brain today and learn how to break it. Okay. So again, this is the self-image blind spot. So I want to talk about what the blind spot is, where it comes from, and how neuroscience explains it, and how to finally see yourself clearly in the way that's actually the truth of like how you are. Because again, remember, we are all everything. So if we're all everything, if we're all murderers in some type of way, right? Even if we wouldn't go do a mass murdering, someone comes in our house with a gun ready to kill someone else. What are you going to do? Let them do it? No, you're not. You're going to protect yourself, right? You've probably killed a bug at some point in your life, even if you didn't mean to, right? We all are everything. So if we're all murderers, then we must all be hot, right? Like there has to be a way that we're all hot. But here's the thing. If hot is an image, why is it always changing every 10 years? Why in the 90s was it stick thin, thin eyebrows, thin lips? Why in the 2010s was it big ass, big boobs, like lip filler, thick eyebrows, right? Those are two totally different things of hot. So hot obviously isn't just a standard. It's just whatever the media tells you it is, right? It's whatever the media tells you it is. So if you were birthed on an island, okay, and your parents never saw the media, and you never saw the media, and you never had access to the media, to anything, you would not have an imprint in your brain of what hot is. Do you realize that? You wouldn't have an imprint in your brain of what hot is. Therefore, hot would not be a look. Hot would be a feeling. It would be an energy. It would be a frequency, right? So my question now is to you is what is hot, right? Because I'll tell you right now, being hot in the like model Victoria's Secret way, I've literally worked with one of them. They didn't feel very hot, right? But they are the image of hot. But that person has very much been cheated on many, many, many times, right? So hot does not define I'm locked in for life and like my man's gonna think I'm so hot, like the best thing ever, and everyone's gonna think I'm the best thing ever. That's not how it works. It is not a look, it is an energy. Okay? So remember through this whole thing, the only reason you have an imprint in your head of what is hot or sexy is because of the media. If you were born on an island, I put you there forever, you would never know. And you had access to no media, you would never have a picture ingrained in your brain of what hot is. And so you would just be trained to see beauty in everyone's features, beauty in everyone. Oh my gosh, she's really tall with long legs. That's beautiful. Oh my gosh, she has a beautiful like gymnast muscular build. Oh my God, that's so cool. And you would just have an appreciation for yourself and for everyone in their different looks and body types and their European looking noses and then their cute little button noses. And you would just have an appreciation for all of it. We're in this age where everyone's starting to look the fucking same. Everybody's starting to look the same. Like everyone's getting a nose job and lip filler and Botox, and everyone is literally starting to look the same. Like, where is it that then you are going to stand out. And again, just like we talked about, and it talks about this in the podcast episode, we'll link in here, doing those things only make your life worse anyway. You can listen to that and why in the podcast episode that we link for you in the show notes. So the self-image blind spot is the subconscious filter that distorts the way you see yourself. Okay. We have a subconscious filter and it distorts the way you see yourself, especially your own beauty, your magnetism, your power that you can create physically that radiates from yourself. There's a really cool story that I love to share that I've heard about with Marilyn Monroe. And I heard about the story, and then my friend, whose acting teacher was Marilyn Monroe's friend and was actually with her in this moment, confirmed that this actually happened, which is really cool. So there was a time where Marilyn Monroe was like walking the streets of New York City, and no one recognized her, but she was like at her peak of fame. Nobody recognized her. No one was stopping her. No one even realized she was there. And she looked over and said to her friend, "Do you want me to turn on Marilyn?" And her friend was like, "Yes, do it. I want to see." She doesn't change the way she looks. She doesn't change her outfit. She has a little shift in her energy. And all of a sudden, everybody is now going, "Oh my God, it's Marilyn Monroe. Oh my gosh." And they're coming up to her and they're taking photos and they're like freaking out that it's Marilyn Monroe. And that is an example I love to use with this because she looked the same. She literally didn't change herself, right? And now all of a sudden, she had this magnetic thing that turned on and then everyone was like, "Oh my God, she's here," and wanted to, to be around her, get her autograph, whatever it was. And I remember reading this story. And then I shared this in a self-image. It was called Hot as Hell. I shared this like 4 years ago and I had a Hot as Hell course. And it was like a self-image course. And my friend who was in there was like, "Oh my God, that was my acting teacher she was with." And she told us this story from like firsthand experience, which is cool to hear that story like confirmed, like it actually happened. So I just think it's a really cool moment and example of how hot is not an energy, but of how or I'm sorry, hot is an energy and it is not a way of looking. Even if you look at Marilyn Monroe before, that's not her name. Her name was something else. I can't remember, but a totally different name. And, all of a sudden she would turn on Marilyn and she had this like really cool ability to connect to this magnetic energy at like a snap of a finger. And that is something that you have the ability to do. Okay. So it's when people tell you that you're gorgeous, you're magnetic, you're hot, you're sexy, you're pretty, you might intellectually believe them, like logically, right? You're like, "Yeah, no, I can like logically. Yeah, I know logically." But it doesn't land, right? You like deflect it, you doubt it, you look in the mirror, you don't see it, you can't feel it, right? Who here has had a hard time feeling their like sexiness, their hotness? It's one of the things we do inside the Glow retreat when we're in person. There's a whole fucking day dedicated to igniting this feeling in you because it's so important. But you can logically be like, "Yeah, like I'm hot or I feel like I'm sexy or whatever," but like, do you feel it? Can you embody it at the snap of a finger? So if you can't, and you can't embody that magnetism, you can't feel what that feels like, what causes that, right, is the question, okay? So one of the things, number one, that can cause that is emotional imprints from childhood, right? So when you were younger, right, our self-image is kind of like clay, right? It's impressionable, it's soft, it's vulnerable, right? When we're younger, from the ages of really like 0 to 9, we have a really impressionable, like clay, soft self-image that we can kind of, is going to start to mold into how we're kind of raised, right? So maybe you were overlooked for your looks in favor of being like the smart person or the strong person or the athletic person, right? Maybe you were shamed for your beauty. Maybe you were really beautiful, but you were shamed for your beauty. Beautiful. When I say you're beautiful, I mean like the society's version of beautiful, by the way. Maybe you were like shamed for your beauty by like adults who thought you were like too much or asking for attention or were even like fucking jealous, right? Or maybe you were only valued because of how you looked and it created this like performative pressure on you, right? I remember growing up in, here was always my complex with self-image, and I bet a lot of you can relate to this, is nobody ever, and I'm not saying this to be like, no one ever told me this, but it's important to say this because I think a lot of people have this. No one ever told me I was ugly. Like nobody ever said you're too this or that, right? But I decided that that like I only got attention for when I looked a certain way or for when my abs looked a certain way at dance. Like I remember being at dance class and from just dancing, naturally I had abs like from a young age. And I would get comments about them like, oh my God, look at Allie's abs. Look at Allie's abs. Like, look at her cute little body. And that would be the way that I got attention. So I then decided, okay, my body needs to have 12-pack abs, tiny, skinny, lean in order for me to be loved, right? So there can be a whole thing of things. Or maybe you I've worked with clients who had like extra weight on them as a child who lost that weight and they still feel and identify with like still having that extra weight on them, right? That can happen too. Like you can grow up, right, being a certain weight that feels uncomfortable in your body and is maybe not like extra unnecessary fat that doesn't need to be there, right? And you now have this identity that now even when you get to like the prime version of what your body's capable of, you are still identifying with that other version because your brain is still wired to think that you look that way, right? So there's a lot of ways that this can start to happen from like imprints in childhood, okay? Number two, how this can happen is cultural conditioning, which we kind of talked about, right? In the media, the hot girl always has a look, right? There's always a look, and that look changes over certain decades, and each decade it changes and it's different, right? Now we're in the age of Ozempic again, so we're kind of going back to the 1990s vibes, right? And they do that on purpose. They do that on purpose because they want you to make your eyebrows really thin, get really skinny, to then be like, oh, wait, I don't like my body now because 10 years later, now the look is thick eyebrows, to have a butt, to have boobs, to have thick thighs. And so now I got to go pay more money to get that done. Right. But now, okay, now that's no longer the trend. So now I got to pay money to not have that. So now I got to pay money for the boob reduction or for a fat transfer or for Ozempic or for all this stuff, right? They do this on purpose where every 10 years there's a different beauty standard. So you keep buying what they're selling. I mean, it's pretty obvious, right? So you keep consuming their TV shows and wanting to be like them. They are playing off your insecurity all fucking day long. It's one thing. I mean, I'm all about buying outfits and I love clothes and I love dressing myself. But why are we doing it, right? Do you need to get that because that girl's ass looks good? So you think, okay, her ass looks good, so I need to buy this swimsuit so my ass looks good. Or are you wearing what you actually want to wear on a soul level? Is your soul pulling you and your intuition pulling you to what to wear that makes you feel the best and that your higher self would actually want to wear? I actually got an insane reflection of this. Um, I was ignoring a bit of a soul pull to dress a certain way. And I was still dressing kind of, I don't even know. Like I was still dressing like I'm always like hyper aware, like about my body and my body shape and if it looks good in outfits and like, do my boobs look good and that kind of thing. And I got this reflection where, my partner kept like being like, put your boobs away, put your boobs away. And I was like, stop, ew, stop. And I was getting so triggered. But what he was actually doing was reflecting my subconscious of like, maybe I actually don't always want to be dressing like this. Maybe I actually need to follow my soul pull and dress the way I actually want to dress, right? So we are getting controlled and conditioned through social media, through Instagram, through TikTok, through Love Island, through TV shows, through the media, through movies on how we should be or look or whatever. I mean, growing up, like I was so impressionable. Like I would go watch the Hunger Games and all of a sudden I was fucking Katniss Everdeen. I was like, oh my God, like I just feel like I embody her. Like I just want to like embody that energy. When I go watch the next movie, now I want to go embody, Allie from The Notebook. And then I go watch the next movie, now I want to go embody this, right? Because each movie, the main character is set to be like this like hot person, which in every movie, the hot person seems to have a different, attitude and aura and all of these things. But what happens is we become impressionable and then we decide, oh my gosh, that's hot. That's how I need to be. But what's the hottest is you being your most authentic self and fully like just vibing with that. So, again, another way that what causes this problem is cultural conditioning, right? Now, the next is that there are things as like, especially for women, like safety patterns, right? So for some women, it didn't feel safe to be seen, right? If you were sexualized too early or harassed or judged for your appearance, your nervous system like learned that visibility equals you're vulnerable, which equals danger, right? So it can become safer to like not see yourself, to dim yourself, to blur your own kind of like reflection, right? That can happen too. So this happened for me at a young age, right? I didn't feel fully safe because I got sexualized at a very young age. And what happened was interesting for me. And like, let me know if you can relate in the comments here. I still wanted to be seen, but then when I was seen, then I felt like scared about it. Do you know what I mean? Like it wasn't like I don't want to be seen, I'm hiding. It was like I want to be seen, but then like I got like scared when I was seen, if that makes sense. And as I got older and in high school, I got confused why people like to have sex. I was like, you like to have sex? Like, why? Like, you let him finger you? Literally, ew, literally, why? Like, you liked that? Like, why would you do that? I was literally so fucking confused about it. Even 19, 20 years old, like, I was like to my friends, why do you like to have sex? Like, why? I don't get it. And I just never felt safe in my sexuality. It never felt safe. It was never a safe thing to be in until, I figured that out and healed it. But that can be another reason of, why that happens. So now going in kind of to the neuroscience of self-image, and here's where it gets really good, is your self-image isn't just a belief. Okay. It is a neural network. It is ingrained in there. It is a pattern of electrical signals your brain runs over and over and over and over and over again. So every time you're like, I look gross today, you shrug off a compliment, you zoom in on the flaws in your photos, you are comparing your butt to someone else's, right? Or you're in a room and you felt really good. Who here has like felt really good before they left to go to a social outing? They get to the social outing and now everyone else looks good and now you're like, fuck, I might as well just go dig a hole and lay in it. There's no point in being here now, right? Who here? I've felt that many times, right? The worst. It's the worst. And then you're all consumed by it. I remember when I was dating somebody in LA and we went to Arizona to like visit his parents and we met up with his friend and his friend's girlfriend. And his friend's girlfriend was like all done up, like super cute. And I wasn't done up. Like I was like, oh, it's nighttime. We're just heading over there to their house to meet them. No, she was ready to fucking go. And I was like out of a workout, messy bun, like not ready. I was feeling good. Like I was like, didn't think anything about my appearance until I walked in and saw her also like, blonde, my body type, all dressed up. Then I decided, oh my God, I look like shit. And then I just internalized it the whole rest of the night. I couldn't enjoy the night. I couldn't even focus. People would talk to me. I'm over here like, oh my God, is my boyfriend going to think she's hotter? Like, is he going to like want to date me anymore? Like, what's she thinking about me? Like, does she think I'm ugly? Like, she's probably wondering like why he's even dating me. His friend's probably like, dude, you can do way better than this. And I'm like fucking spiraling for no reason when I felt fucking fine before. Now I walked in. Now all of a sudden, now I've decided she looks better. Does she actually? No, everyone has their own form of beauty. There's beauty in literally everything. There's beauty in dressing up. There's beauty in sweatpants, whatever it is. But I am going down a spiral. I can't even pay fucking any attention to what anyone's saying to me the whole night. I'm having a miserable time. Other people are probably like, what the fuck? Any hot thing about me, like my personality, is just out the window because I can't even form a sentence because I feel so insecure. And who here has that happened to, right? That was my whole life. Okay. So anytime that stuff happens, you're literally reinforcing that network in your brain, okay? Like you're carving more and more grooves in that path. You're making it more and more solidified. And your brain loves efficiency. Our brains love efficiency. So it will keep showing you that version of you again and again and again and again. Not because it's true, but because it's familiar, okay? So your brain filters your reality. And here's the wild part. Your brain has a mechanism and it's called the reticular activating system. Reticular activating system. It's a filter that only lets in information that aligns with your beliefs. Okay. So if you believe I'm average, I'm not pretty, I'm not hot, then the reticular activating system will delete and distort any feedback that contradicts your belief. So it's not that people aren't telling you you're stunning, it's that your brain isn't letting you feel it. Now, the problem with this is, what's our creator field made up of? Our thoughts, our beliefs, right? And how we feel. So if we feel like I'm average, I'm not that magnetic, I'm not that sexy, I'm not that hot, right? Well, now we're going to keep proving to ourselves why that's true. Well, the more we prove to ourselves why that's true, the law of focus happens. What we focus on, we get more of. So the more we're focused on like how we're proving to ourselves how we're not hot, the more we're going to get proof how we're not hot, right? And that can look like you walk into the room, everyone always goes up to your friend. You're the one who's always looked over, right? Or you walk into the room and you just feel like no one gives a fuck that you're there. It can show up in so many different ways. Well, now your creator field says, don't look at me. You basically write a script in your creator field that says, literally, don't look at me, please. Please ignore me. Your creator field's screaming, ignore me. Literally, don't pay any attention to me. Tell everyone else they look good and ignore me. Don't come up to me. Definitely don't come up to me. And that's what your creator field script is, right? You don't want it to be that, but that's now what's going on, okay? So, and it's so deep in your neural pathways and your subconscious that just a thought of like trying to feel hot is not going to change it. Okay. So that's your blind spot, right? Now there's identity incongruence. Okay. And that's another factor. Your brain hates, it loathes identity incongruence. If someone says you're glowing and your subconscious identity says you're not, it's going to create cognitive dissonance, which is a super uncomfortable feeling. So your brain throws the compliment away to restore your own comfort. It's wild, right? Who here like has had that happen? And this is why affirmations do not work. They clash too hard with your current neural wiring in your brain, with your current neural pathways. So you're over here like feeling so disconnected and just not embodied from your sexiness, from your hotness, from your magnetism. Okay. And then you try and go, I'm so sexy. I'm so sexy. I'm so sexy. I'm so hot. It's not doing anything. You're logically trying to convince your like deep programmed neural pathways and subconscious about something that you are so disconnected from emotionally, it won't work. So this is why affirmations do not work. It's why all the self-love or what image affirmations you see out in the world, you can write them on your mirror, you can write them on your phone. They're not going to work until you shift your emotions. And again, this is so important and something a lot of people don't teach. And it's why we spend we commit a whole like 7-hour day at the Glow retreats to this very thing of like getting that feeling ignited, right? So now another little deep dive to like kind of go into the neuroscience a little more. So what's really going on in your brain when you look in the mirror and you can't see what's actually there, what other people, maybe see, or what is the truth of what's going on. Your self-image is not just low confidence. Your self-image isn't just a vibe. Your self-image isn't just like, oh, I just need to snap out of it. You can't just snap out of it because it is a literal neural pattern. Okay. So it's a literal physical connections in your brain. So when you get up, what happens is like the fucking anger loop spiral that happens, right? You get upset at yourself that you can't connect to your hotness or your magnetism or your sexiness. Then you start to beat yourself up. And then you start to beat yourself up. And now your self image is even worse because now you're beating yourself up. But it's not, it's your brain is so wired one way. So we got to unrewire the brain. It's not just talking yourself out of something. There's no talking yourself out of this. Your brain is a pattern matching machine. Your brain is always it's always working to protect you and conserve energy. So it runs off of mental shortcuts, which are also called neuropathways. Those tell you what to focus on. They tell you what to expect, and they tell you what's normal for you. All your neuropathways are is a belief, and all your beliefs are is a repetitive thought you've had over and over and over and over again. So what we have to do is we have to start to suffocate the old neural pathways that are limiting, and we've got to start to rebuild new empowering neural pathways. Again, all things we do inside of all glow things, but we've got to understand this first. So your self-image is one of the strongest one of these shortcuts. It's like a mental, like maps, like GPS. Okay. It says, this is who I am. This is what I look like. And this is how much space I'm allowed to take up. Okay. And your brain will always choose familiar over what's accurate. There's a quote that I don't remember who said this quote, but if someone does, let me know in the comments. There's a quote by a guy who wrote a book, and now I can't remember the book's name. But he once said, nobody's right and nobody's wrong. Nobody's right and nobody's wrong. Which, how I take it is that's very true, because whatever we believe to be true is what's going to be true for us, right? You believe that you walk into a room and you don't get attention, that's what's going to happen. You believe you walk into a room and you're magnetic, that's what's going to happen, right? Your brain will always choose familiar over like higher self source truth accurate. And here's where it gets even more wild. If your familiar belief is, I'm not that attractive, or I'm only hot if I have makeup on, or weigh less, or get attention, or I'm next to a certain person. I used to have this complex where I'm really outing myself. I used to have this complex where if I was next to certain friends who I wouldn't compare myself to, like my friend, I had a friend who like was like 5'9", brown hair, totally just different looks, right? Wouldn't compare myself to her because we have totally different looks. So I would always feel hot. She was hot, but I was hot. It was totally different looks. But if I had a friend who was my height, maybe blonde hair, maybe not blonde hair, but just like my height, my kind of body type, and I decided that she was skinnier than me, so she was hotter than me or whatever it was I decided, then I would have a meltdown, right? So there can be this complex of I'm attractive only with makeup, or if I weigh less, or if I get attention from this person, then I feel attractive, or if my boyfriend makes me feel hot today, then I'll feel hot, right? How many of you have like not felt hot because your partner, quote, made you not feel hot? No one can make you feel anything that you don't already feel. Nobody can make you feel anything that you don't already feel. So they're not making you feel that way. You feel that way, and they're a lovely mirror and reflector and right in front of your face, amplifying and showing you how you already feel. I mean, this is coming from the person. I could not leave the house from like 7th grade up until I was 24 years old without makeup on. Like, could not leave the fucking house. I couldn't go into public from like 16 years old until like 22, 23 years old without a fucking spray tan on. I mean, I was deep, thick in it. Like I could feel hot if I had the right things going on. And then even then it was like a surface level hot because the second any partner got close to me in romantic relationship, it was over. I automatically just felt so disconnected from my sexuality or feeling attractive or magnetic in that kind of dynamic. It was a very surface level kind of like hot thing. So, if you have a familiar belief like I'm average or I'm hot if I have makeup on, then anything that contradicts that belief, like someone calling you beautiful or seeing a beautiful photo of you with no makeup on, you will feel like it's a glitch. You will feel like that's not true. Like they're lying to you. They're trying to get something from you. They're delusional. Like they're not seeing it right, right? And what does your brain do with glitches? It deletes them. It explains them away, right? Like it filters them under that's not true. Your brain literally protects the old belief because it's more comfortable than growth. The ego doesn't want to get fired, okay? So then cue again the reticular activating system. Again, it's a tiny part of your brainstem that acts like a filter for your attention, is what this is. So its job is to sort the millions of pieces of sensory information coming in every second, and it decides which ones to pay attention to. But here's the real kicker with this one is that your reticular activating system only allows through information that confirms what you already believe to be true about yourself. So if your subconscious self-image says, I'm forgettable, I'm not the pretty one, or it's not safe to be seen, or I'm plain, or whatever it is, then that's what your reticular activating system will filter for. It's what you're going to start to find and like beep, 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 scan around the room and clock and notice and prove that belief back to yourself. The more you prove it, the thicker your neural pathway gets, the more ingrained in your subconscious it gets. Okay. Even if everyone says you're stunning, you light up a room, right? And now, by the way, this is what I call pity donuts from the universe. You might have heard me talk about pity donuts before, but if you are ever shocked by a compliment, that means you were so in the negative about yourself that someone had to come and tell you a nice thing to get you out of the negative. It's what is called, I like to call, and a pity donut from the universe. It's like you were so in the toilet with your self-image that someone had to come and say something nice to you to pull your head out of the toilet, right? And so you're probably like, Allie, why don't I just be really negative and then I can just get like pity donut compliments for the rest of my life and they can just run me through the rest of my life. Well, the problem with that is then you have no control over that, right? You have no control of creation. You have no control of your creator field if you're just going to go negative and just wait and hope for pity donuts to come along. And in the meantime, you're going to have a lot of other shit that you're creating that you don't want either. So I wouldn't recommend going that route. When you go the source aligned, creating a high self-image route, you have full control over your creator field and what you create and how people treat you. Now, I don't like to share stories about myself with like good things because I never like to put myself on a pedestal because, again, like I tell you, my reflections have reflections. But you've heard many of my, bad reflections about self-image. I tell you them all the time. Well, working through those, anytime I literally go into a store, a coffee shop, it is like everyone is talking to me to the point where I'm like, I kind of just want to like shop and be to myself. But I walk in and it's like, I walked into Aloe yesterday. And again, I'm not saying this because I did this. I'm saying this because I'm not special. You can do this too. And it's just rewiring your brain. I walked into Aloe yesterday and everyone fucking came up to me. People I knew who worked there, people I didn't know. Everyone's coming up to me, talking about something here, saying they like this about me here, complimenting me here. It's over here. A girl shopping liked my sweatpants. I mean, everyone in that store came up to me. And again, I'm not saying I hate saying this stuff about myself because I'm not trying to be like, they did this to me. I'm cool. No, I used to have the opposite reaction where I would go to parties in high school and you would think I wasn't fucking there, right? Like all the guys, all the cool guys in high school who at the time it was cool if they liked you, no one gave a fuck about me, right? Because it wasn't that I, you know, like didn't think that I wasn't pretty, but I didn't feel like hot enough, right? Like I felt like pretty, but I didn't feel like hot and cool. And I wasn't like embodying that. And so people who embodied that more than me, they got that attention, right? Same thing you heard me talk about in the last podcast episode with dance. I was not noticed in dance until I decided I'm going to get really, really fucking good and get this outside thing going. And I let this outside thing of being good at dance then make me feel like it was okay to be magnetic and to feel good about myself, right? So we we can I'm sharing this story because it's there is a way, and we're going to talk about it, to shrink those old neural pathways, rewire your brain, get new neural pathways, rewire your subconscious, rewire your creator field, and then you have a whole different reality going on, which is why I shared the Atlas story. I'm not special. I just got ingredients and I decided to connect to them. That's it, right? Which you guys can do way fucking faster than I ever did. So even if people are saying, you're stunning, you light up a room, all of these things, one, if you're shocked or like, don't believe this comment, they're pity donuts, which means you're so far in the negative of your self-image that someone has to, your creative field has to create someone coming in to balance you back out because of the law of balance, right? We can't be fully negative or else we have to something good to happen to come in to balance us out. If we're too high, we have to have something negative to come in to balance us out, right? We've got to always be in balance. So when you're getting pity donuts and it's like you're stunning, you light up a room, whatever it is, your reticular activating system is going, no, that doesn't compute. That doesn't make sense. And it tosses the data out before it even reaches your conscious mind, let alone subconscious. So this is why you can hear compliments over and over and over again, like the pity donut compliments, and still not believe them. It's not because they're not true. It's because your wiring in your brain does not let them land. Okay. So here's something. Then there's kind of like this kind of belief versus like biology thing. So this blew my mind when I like learned this. Your subconscious identity will always override your conscious effort unless you change the wiring that's in the subconscious and underneath. So once again, you can say affirmations all day. You can post all the hot pictures. You can logically know you're not unattractive. But if your brain, if your identity wiring hasn't been updated, your brain won't let you receive that new truth. It will keep you looped in the old story because that's what feels normal and familiar. It's not going to, it doesn't matter what's actually true. Okay. Now, here's the good news is that we have this thing again called neuroplasticity, which means your brain is not fixed to how it is. You can change it at any time. Neuroplasticity is like being able to mold and shape your brain, right? So it is, again, your brain is not a solid thing. It is a malleable thing, meaning it can be rewired. And this process, again, is called neuroplasticity. So the rewiring does not happen, though, through logic. It happens through repetition, through emotionally connecting, and through feeling safe to do so, right? And the nervous system feeling like safe and not stressed out or like adrenal glands going or fight or flight. So that means repeatedly giving your brain new data about who you are, right? That's like the formula. Here's the formula. Repeatedly give, and again, we dive deep and do this whole entire formula inside Glow Foundation, Glow Formula, Glow Retreats. But the process of the formula is repeatedly giving your brain new data about who you are. Next is anchoring it with real emotion, not just affirmations, real emotion. You've got to emotionally feel the click in your body. And then, and again, we learn how to do that in Glow Foundation. and teaching your nervous system that it is safe to be seen, praised, adored by other people, but even by yourself. I know that some people have grown up to not think highly of themselves, right? Like don't be vain. Don't think that way of yourself, right? Who here has maybe had that growing up, right? Don't say out loud you're pretty. Like, oh my God, why would you think that, right? Who here has had that? Let me see. Yep. Okay. Yeah. So we've had some of that. Let's see the comments. Yep. Me. Totally. Totally. Makes total sense. Yes. Yes. Okay. Lots of those. Okay. Interesting. Interesting. Okay. So again, the formula is repeatedly giving your brain new data about who you are and then anchoring it with real emotion. So for example, if I'm trying to feel sexy, but actually feel it, I'm not just going to do an affirmation of going, I'm so sexy. I'm so sexy. What's going to happen is my subconscious is going to literally go, no, you're not. No, you're not. Now I'm going to be in a deeper hole than I already was trying to feel sexy. I'm going to feel even less sexy because I'm going to be frustrated that I can't even feel sexy when I'm trying to tell myself I'm sexy, right? Who here has experienced that with affirmations? And you feel even worse after you do the affirmation. It's awful. It happened to me all the time. So instead, you're going to go, every day, I can feel more and more how I am sexy, right? That would be a brain reprogramming statement. And now you can find little tiny micro moment ways of how that's true. Even if you felt sexy for just 2 seconds. Maybe you held like the weirdest pose in the mirror, but you just like felt sexy in it. And then you didn't feel sexy once you left the mirror, but like for 2 seconds in that pose, you felt sexy. Clock that, right? Someone smiled at you. That made you feel like magnetic or seen or sexy. Clock that. And what's going to happen is now your emotion, when you prove, our brain likes proof. Our brain likes familiar things. So if you're constantly proving like, oh, this made me feel a little bit sexy here. Like I felt it here. Oh, I felt it here. Now you're emotionally connecting with actual memories because our brain likes proof. Well, now the more you focus on it, the more you get more of it. The more you focus on it, the more you are now suffocating the old neural pathway of I am not sexy and starting to rebuild a new neural pathway of I am sexy. The more that new neural pathway is built, the more the old one suffocated and starts to die down, the more the new one is solidified, the more it goes into your subconscious, the more it absorbs and soaks up like a sponge into your creator field. Now your creator field saying I'm sexy, I'm magnetic, right? So now you're creating those kinds of situations in a safe way, right? In a healthy way in your life. So, and it's not, don't be afraid of creating I am sexy because when we create the scary situations of someone maybe thinking we're sexy and it's like an unsafe situation, that's not created because we feel sexy. That's created because we don't feel safe in our body and we don't feel safe in our sexuality. If we don't feel safe in our body, we don't feel safe in our sexuality, we are going to create more things to not feel safe with sexuality in. Make sense? But if we actually feel safe being sexual or in our sexuality, we are going to create safe scenarios where it is safe to feel that way, right? So don't be afraid of clocking that because the only reason you would have unsafe scenarios in the past is because you actually don't feel safe in your sexual energy. Makes sense? So once again, formula, repeatedly giving your brain new data, anchoring it with a real emotion, and then teaching your nervous system it is safe to be seen by reminding yourself, if we feel like we are not safe and we think feeling not safe is good because we protect ourselves, if you feel like you have to protect yourself, you're going to create more people, situations, circumstances, and situations that you have to protect yourself from. But if you feel safe, you're going to create more people, situations, circumstances that amplify that feeling of feeling safe. Very, very important to remember. This is how you close the blind spot. Okay. You stop relying on your conscious mind to feel prettier, to feel hotter, to feel more sexy. And instead, you change the architecture of your self-image in your brain. because once your wiring catches up with the actual truth, that's when you're going to start to look in the mirror, see photos, and feel like, wait a fucking minute. I've always been this beautiful. I've always been this hot. And everyone's like, yeah, you know, you just weren't able to see it before with your eyes because of how far programmed in the wrong direction your brain was. Okay. So this blind spot holds you back so much. And I want to talk about what this blind spot of your self image actually costs you to give you some motivation. I know for me, I need like motivation of like, yeah, it's great to feel sexy, but like I have bigger fish to fry kind of thing, or it's great to feel hot. But let me just go into like some other things that might motivate you. What this blind spot of your self image can actually cost you. It's not just a confidence issue, it becomes a literal life issue. Because when you can't see yourself, you won't let others fully see you either. Meaning in relationships, you won't have as fulfilling partnership as you possibly could. You're going to feel a little bit like uncomfy, like I need the lights off kind of vibes, right? You're going to just feel like you can't look me in the eye. Don't look me in the eye. You can't be fully seen, right? Also in career, if you don't feel comfortable in being fully seen, you're not going to put yourself out there in your career. I have a friend who's like so stunning, beautiful. Like I can't even believe it. And she thinks she's the ugliest thing that ever walked this earth, which is wild to me. But I get it because her brain is just wired in a certain way. And it literally stops her from posting. She's an incredible healer, like in the medium, intuitive. It literally stops her from posting online. She posts other people's videos, but she's not posting herself and her own beautiful information because of this, all these neural pathways. So she's holding herself back from her soul pull career, which then holds you back from the money that you're supposed to make in exchange for the value that you give in your soul pull career, right? Another way that this can really cost you in life is you downplay your gifts, right? Like you could be an incredible, let's just say intuitive, right? And you don't feel though like you want to be seen, or you don't feel like you look the way you should look or whatever it is. And now you're not going to allow all your gifts to come out. You're not going to be motivated to fully work on them or to grow them because you're going to feel like, what's the point? Another way this can cost you is you stay invisible in rooms that you are probably meant to lead the energy of the room in, right? You have so many of those inner gifts, those inner attributes that we'll talk about and connect to probably next podcast. And you are dimming those because of worrying about how you're being perceived on the outside. And now in a room where you're probably supposed to take the lead and pull the room up, you're now sitting in the corner, or you're now like playing small, right? Another way this costs you is, again, you play small in your brand, in your career, in your message, in your art, and whatever it is you have to give. Who here has said, I just don't feel ready to show up yet? I just don't feel ready to show up yet. Me, yes, 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 yes. I need to lose weight first. I need to fix my skin first. I need to get more confident first. I need to whatever first, get better clothes. I don't know. Right? And that is just fucking yourself and pulling yourself off your soul pull over and over and over and over again. There's not a day that's going to just magically happen that you're going to wake up and that you're going to say, I'm ready. It won't work. Confidence builds also by doing the thing, and just like you've got to mold yourself to the situation, right? Confidence just builds by doing the thing. I had a friend call me the other day, and again, I hate sharing these stories about myself because I'd like to share like the limiting belief ones, but I have limiting belief ones and I rewire my brain to get to this. Okay. So I had a friend call me the other day, and my friends call me because when they need help, especially with feeling confident in career, because I've done so much work around that. And like I had to make being a medium being cool. Like when I was like 24, I was like, okay, mediums are known to be weird. How can I make this cool? So I did a lot of work around um, making what I do cool in my own head. So, so anyway, I tend to attract clients, you guys, students, community, friends who call me when they need help with that. So I had a friend call me and they were like, dude, no one's signing up for my fucking course online. Like, what the fuck? And I go, you don't feel like you're the fucking best, and that's your problem. I'm like, you literally don't feel like you're the best. And I'm like, I literally feel like I'm the fucking best. No one can tell me otherwise. And I also think you're the best and you're the best. Everyone's the best at being them. We've talked about this, right? We talked about this last podcast episode. You're special and unique. I'm special and unique. You're the best at being you. I'm the best at being me. The difference is that I have spent years and years and years and years, because your girl wasn't born feeling like this. Trust me. I spent years and years and years deciding and rooting to and emotionally connecting and rewiring my brain and neural pathways to literally connect to how I am the best. So I was like, dude, you literally feel like this, you feel like I'm better than you. You feel like this person's better than you. You feel like this person's better than you. And like, you can't feel like that. You have to feel like you're the best. I tell John is in here. The other two team intuitives, Emma and Michaela, are out of office today. But I literally tell them, you need to feel like you're better than me at doing this. Like, you need to feel like you are the fucking best of the best, which we all are at being us. So I was telling him, dude, you need to literally feel like you're the fucking best, and you don't. I'm like, you 21% feel like you're the best, and that's what's fucking you right now. And he was like, yeah, like what I've noticed about you, Allie, is like you literally don't question it. Like there's no one that can tell you anything that will make you question it. And I said, not anymore. At one point, yes, but I have gone so down a rabbit hole of like feeding this neural pathway that there's 8 billion people could tell me I'm a fucking nutcase. And I would be like, no, I'm the best. And that's where you want to get to, because you're also the best, right? I'm the best at being me. You're the best at being you. I'm special, you're special. Everyone has their own. We talked about this in the last episode. So I was literally like, I get very passionate about this stuff. and and he's like, yeah. And I also told him, I said, people don't feel like they know you. I'm like, you've got to tell more stories. You've got to like let people in. I'm like, you need to be vulnerable. And he's like, I am vulnerable. And I'm like, no, you're not being vulnerable. I'm like, you need to be more vulnerable. And I'm like, you're not being vulnerable because you are afraid of people deciding that that means that you're not the best. But I'm like, if you feel like you're the best, then you can be vulnerable. Because in the healing world, there's like this kind of thing of like, don't tell what you're going through because people won't think you're a good healer. No, if you're a good healer, you're going to have way more reflections than probably most people of the world. So I'm like, you need to share more because people don't feel like they trust you because you're not sharing. And I go on this whole thing and he's like, well, so-and-so doesn't do that. And I'm like, yeah. And you know what? They're never going to be the fucking best. And I'm like, you need to be the best. So stop fucking comparing yourself to fucking so-and-so over here. They're not on your soul pole. They're not going to do what you're here to do. You need to get like, have a fucking tunnel vision and just connect to how you're the fucking best. And this is why my friends come to me for this, because I have no chill and I will literally yell at them over the phone out of love. Anyway, anyway, so I have radically, and again, this took my whole lifetime up until 2 years ago is when this really like fully connected. But my whole lifetime of shit and shit and shit and eating shit and feeling like shit and feeling like everyone else was better than me and feeling like I'm not enough, my whole lifetime of this, right? That I finally was like, fuck that. I'm going to rewire this. I'm going to literally radically choose to create and feel like I'm the best at what I do and being me. And I do it over and over and over and over again. And I still do it over and over and over again to the point where now it is a non-declarative memory in my brain, which a non-declarative memory means it is just how you are. It is just how you be. It is just how you feel. So this all comes with a radical responsibility of rewiring your brain. You've got to think of taking your brain to brain gym. You can't go to the gym for a week and get 12-pack abs. You can't do this for a week and just have a whole new brain and never go back to your old brain, right? If you're building a new neural pathway, you're still suffocating the old one. If you stop building the new one, you're going to go back to the old one. You've got to think these neural pathways have been in your brain for decades. You can't just heal them in a week. And that's what people like to do. They like to heal things in a week. We talked about this like 2 episodes ago, remember? But self-love is not just expecting fast results. It's committing to yourself over and over and over and over again. So this is going to take radical responsibility on your end, and only elite people do this. And you guys in here are so fucking elite, so I have no doubt that you're going to do this. But this is not for the weak, because it's very quite easy to let the old neural pathways take over, right? Recovering perfectionist learning this is crazy. Good. But even a perfectionist, and we're going to get to this little segue to next episode. Next episode, we're going to see how every quality we have is actually insanely beneficial. So perfectionism is also beneficial, right? Everything's everything. So it's annoying and beneficial at the same time. We'll get to that, a little segue to next week of inner self-image healing that we're going to do there. But this is going to take time and consistency and knowing like what to do. And if you're ready for that, then, you can find the Glow Foundation and the Glow Formula, and those things are probably going to be happening soon, and you can get in there and we really like nail it in your brain in there. But know that you are the one responsible for doing the work. You're the only one who has control of your brain all day long. No one's coming to hold your hand. No course, class, workshop, podcast is going to save you. It can help you get the information and know what to do, and then it's in your hands. The right information's really good. Knowing what's going on is great. Knowing what to do is great. But then from there, it is in your hands. And again, even when you do reach the point where you get the 6-pack abs, what do you have to do? You have to maintain them. If you go back to how you used to live, they're going to go away. Same thing with the neuropathway. Once it's solidified in there, you still got to maintain it. If you stop maintaining it, it goes away. This is like the church I always needed. That was funny. Yes, love that. Come to church. So, really important things to remember. Okay? Rewire with repetition and emotion. The emotions are very important. Now, once again, this is one of those topics I can go on a deep dive on for 27,000 years. And we do that inside of Glow, All Things Glow. We'll stop here. We talked about a lot. Go re-listen to this over and over and over again. Remember, our brain only absorbs 20 minutes of information that's talked about over an hour. Okay. So listen to this, let it soak in. Listen to this, let it soak in. Homework is pick one thing, whether it's magnetic, sexy, hot, whatever that you want to feel, and start to micro moment all little ways throughout the day how you can feel that, because energy is never created or destroyed. It just changes form. So it's not that you're not hot or you're not feeling hot or that there's no way you can feel hot. It's just that you're not paying attention to it. You've got to train your brain to pay attention and focus on it. Okay. Great work today, everyone. I will see you in next week's episode. Okay. I will see everybody then. Bye.